everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the winter campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. Last week when we ventured to the Forbidden Peaks, we picked up 6 experience along with a mental trauma for Norman. We also lost Dr. Mollicina and Avery Claypool along the way. We spent the experience on Thursday, so now we're into the third scenario of this campaign, City of the Elder Things. First up, let's go ahead and set the scene, and advance apologies if the audio recording's order gets jumbled. I'm playing constantly to guess. My playlist got screwed up, so I'm using the album base.
Scenario 3, City of the Elder Things. As you read the scenario introduction, check the campaign log and read any passage that corresponds to your situation. Intro. Even with the knowledge afforded to you by Dyer's report, you find yourself wholly unprepared for the terrible vastness of the blasphemous city at the heart of Antarctica and its alien inscrutability. Massive towers, temples, bridges, and pyramids dot the broad landscape. In the ill-accutable light of dawn, the nameless maze of cyclopean structures and angular blocks extend for miles in every direction. Unmistakably real and yet impossible to believe. It is truly a wonder of the world.
Alright, the first situation that we have to check for as we proceed through the campaign, through the intro, is if Dr. Mollicina is alive, and as you might have heard from the intro, she's not, so I'm going to have to find that recording.
If Dr. Mollicina is alive...
It should be this one, then.
Otherwise, you were briefed many times on the dangers of the Antarctic environment, but without Dr. Sina, you're at a disadvantage braving the harsh weather. What she lacked in bedside manner, she made up in expertise. Wishing you could have saved her, you grit your teeth and trudge on, watching your companions for any sign of hypothermia. Each investigator adds a frostbitten weakness to their deck. It does not count toward that investigator's deck size.
Which I did that last night, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at Frostbitten. Revelation put Frostbitten into play in your threat area. Frostbitten can be healed as if it were a single point of damage on you. If it's healed, discard it. Forced, when you reveal a Frost token during a skill test, you must either take 1 damage or automatically fail, limit once per test. So as I said, I did that for both investigators last night. So with that, actually we should have another round of text before we get into our next situation.
Otherwise...
No.
If James Cookie...
Zip it.
Scenario 3, City of the
Come on. So yeah, like I warned you guys, it's going to be a little bit rough as I have to pilfer around here because these names on my phone are so short.
As you descend the peaks surrounding the city, trespassing furtively over its walls, the slopes give way to gradual, shallower foothills peppered with structures of black, primordial stone. Towers or outposts, perhaps, linking the natural outer walls of the city to its outskirts. We should search one of the watchtowers, one of the team members suggests, pointing to the closest structure. You nod in agreement. Dyer's report had observed a wealth of information carved into the walls of several structures within the city, after all. Perhaps you'll stumble upon a map or diagram of the city to aid in your exploration.
The next situation here is the investigators scouting the city outskirts, except we didn't, so the investigators will suffer no ill effect from that. And our next situation after that is if Professor William Dyer is alive, and he was killed in the plane crash, so...
If James Cookie Otherwise,
nope.
You were briefed many times...
Come on.
If the investigators scouted this...
Which we didn't.
Otherwise, unfortunately, as you attempt...
We're going to need that in a minute, but not now.
Scenario 3.
No.
If Professor William Dyer is alive...
Okay, it should be this one.
Otherwise, as you enter the tower, the cold dwindles... But the sense of unease you felt observing the city from a distance only grows. Without Dyer's wisdom to guide you through this place, you feel completely unprepared. Every drop of water, every shifting pebble, every hushed breath causes your throat to clench and your heart to race. It's not long before you hear whispering in the walls, voices that don't belong to you, or anyone in your party. The more you try to deny it, the stronger the voices become, a choir in your mind. A warning? Each investigator adds a possessed weakness to their deck, It does not count toward that investigator's deck size.
We'll take a quick look at that as well before we proceed into the next part of the intro. Possessed is basically the exact same thing as Frostbitten, except it's the horror version. So, delightful. Okay, continue.
Scenario interlude.
No,
Gaze into
we're not here yet. Relax. There should be one more scene of text. I'm going to bring it over here.
Your companion says...
No.
If Dr. Mollis...
Which she is not. We established this.
If the investigators...
No.
If James Cookie Fredericks is alive and Dynamite is
No.
listed under...
We need that in a second, but not now.
Otherwise... Scenario 3.
Blast it all.
As you descend the peaks surrounding the city,
No.
trespassing... The open entrance
There
to
we
the
go.
obsidian structure
Finally.
greets you like the maw of a ferocious predator. As your eyes adjust to the darkness, your curiosity gives way to deep, profound dread. The structure's sharp, angular main hall is the site of an absolute massacre. Mangled elder things... Mangled elder thing corpses litter the floor. Piles of leathery gray flesh and sticky, misshapen organs coated in thick, dark gray fluid. You reel at the awful stench of death. These dead are not ancient. This slaughter must have been recent. What could have done this? One of your party breaks the immense silence. Murals on the wall draw your attention, depicting what you have come to know as the race of elder things embroiled in battle with some ancient, terrifying foe. No, not one. Many. Your party dares not dwell in this slaughterhouse long. Covering your noses to block the awful stench, you take your leave.
Okay.
The trail of...
Alright, so we do need that clip in a second, but first we need to go back up to our last situation.
Scenario 3. City.
No.
As you descend the...
No.
Otherwise... If James Cookie Fredericks is alive and Dynamite is listed under supplies recovered...
Okay, that's our last situation. Cookie is alive, but we didn't recover Dynamite.
Otherwise... Unfortunately, as you attempt to leave the structure, you find the passage blocked by ice and rubble. It takes much longer than you expected to find another way out, and when you finally escape, you've already been exposed to the elements for some time. Add 1 frost token to the chaos bag.
There is I believe that's our 5th frost token. So we're not doing, yeah, there's our 5th frost token, the bag max is at 8, so we're actually not doing too terribly bad, but we're about at the halfway point of the campaign, so 5 frost tokens in the bag isn't terrible. But anyway, now we need to go find the last text.
Otherwise, as you enter the...
No.
The trail of sickly
There we
green
go.
blood leads out and dribbles down a smooth path sculpted as if by an acidic substance out of the mountainside. In the opposite direction, the mountain ridge continues along the perimeter of the city. In the distance, you can just make out a darkened, half-buried section of the city. The layout of its structure is completely unfamiliar to you, even after going through Dyer's notes extensively. Finally, in the heart of the city, a great pyramid and many prominent temples lie scattered, rising to amazing heights despite the weathering of many eons. The expedition casts votes on which direction they wish to go. Compare the following 3 groups to see which group has the most team members still alive. Group 1, Dr. Amy Kensler, Roald Ellsworth, Dr. Malasina.
With Dr. Cena dead, this group casts 2 votes, Dr. Kensler and Rold.
Group 2, Danforth, Takata Hiroko, Alaya Ashabak.
This group has all 3 of its members alive, so they cast 3 votes.
Group 3, Professor William Dyer, Avery Claypool, James Cookie Fredericks.
Avery and Professor Dyer are both dead, so this group casts 1 vote. Proceed. So we know Group 2 is 1. Let's see what that means.
If Group 1 has the most team members still alive, the group votes to venture into the heart of the city where lie its greatest structures. Each partner from this group chosen to accompany an investigator enters play with 1 additional use. Proceed to set up version 1. If Group 2 has the most team members still alive, the group votes to travel along the mountain ridge, toward the region Dyer and Danforth never explored. Each partner from this group chosen to accompany an investigator enters play with one additional use. Proceed to set up version 2. If Group 3 has the most team members still...
This we can actually skip this at this point because Group 2 has the most team members casting votes. So we'll see the layout of the map when we move over to it, and we'll see why I've chosen the team members that I have. We'll choose them at that point as well. So next up, we'll remind everyone of what the tarot reading was. Thanks to Damned, Tony had to flip the Tower 16. Add one random basic weakness to his deck. Remove it after the game ends. So if you're following along with the deck lists on Arkham DB, you know what that extra basic weakness is. Hopefully that'll be the last I say about that, but we'll find out soon enough. Then for the group reading, on the good side, we left the Fool 0. Each investigator not defeated during this scenario earns +2 experience during its resolution. And on the bad side, we flipped Judgment 20. When the game begins, replace the highest non-negative token in the chaos bag with a skull. Swap them back after the game ends. Alright, with that, I think we can go into opening hands. We're back to Tony as the lead investigator for this scenario. So, first up, we'll start off with his 2 copies of Scene of the Crime. Only as your first action, discover 1 clue at your location. 2 instead if there's an enemy at your location. This action doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. What did it have on? Did it have anything on commit? Yes, it had combat and lore on commit. Then we have the Mauser C96. 4 cost to play, agility on commit. Uses 5 ammo. As an action, exhaust Mauser C96 and spend an ammo to fight. You get +1 combat and deal +1 damage for this attack. If you succeed by 2 or more, either ready the Mauser or gain a resource. Got the 41 Derringer level 2. 3 cost to play, combat, agility on commit. Uses 3 ammo. As an action, spend an ammo to fight, getting +2 combat for this attack. If you succeed by 1 or more, this attack deals +1 damage. Once per turn, if you succeed by 3 or more, you may take an additional action this turn. And we have the Key of Yiz at long last making its debut. Wildcard and Will on commit. 3 cost to play. You get +1 to each of your skills for each horror on Key of Yiz. Forced. When any amount of horror would be placed on you, place 1 of that on Key of Yiz. Forced. When it leaves play, discard the top 10 cards of your deck. 4 sanity on soak. So we can get up to a +3 on from the Key of Yiz. Anyway, Norman, we see his ally slot's going to be pretty crowded. Which, before I forget, I will get the 6 contracts out for bounty contracts. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Normally I would have been on top of this last night, but I had a fair amount going on last night. So there are the 6 contracts going on Tony's bounty contract. 4, 5, 6. As I was saying, Norman's ally slot is fairly crowded. He's got a lab assistant at a 2 cost to play. Max hand size increased by 2. After it enters play, draw 2 cards. 1 and 2 on soak. What will probably be Norman's first action, Dr. Milan Christopher, Professor of Entomology. 4 cost to play, lore on commit. +1 lore, and as a fast action, as a reaction after you successfully investigate, gain a resource. Drawn to the Flame, 0 cost to play, lore and will on commit. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. Leave Debon, Hyperborean Grimoire. 2 will and a wild card on commit. As a fast action, I can exhaust it to either swap the top card of my deck with a card in hand, or exhaust it to commit the top card of my deck to an eligible skill test performed by an investigator at my location. And Occult Lexicon, 2 costs to play, lore on commit. After it enters play, I search my bonded cards for 3 copies of Bloodright. Add 1 to my hand and shuffle the other 2 into my deck. When it leaves play, find those copies of Bloodright and remove them from the game. Next up, we can take a look at the Act and Agenda decks. So we'll take a look at our agenda first. Agenda 1A, Lurking Horrors. The hidden alien city looms before you, ancient and enigmatic. What secrets and terrors lie in wait within? As an action, during your turn, fast action, during your turn, spend 1 clue. Look at the revealed side of a city landscape in your column or row. Limit once per round. As a fast action, during your turn, spend 3 clues. Move to any location in your column or row. Limit once per round. 6 doomed to advance. And our act. Act 1A, Sprawling City, version 2. This is the discovery of a lifetime. Dyer's report was true. All of it. You must explore this alien civilization in order to learn more. As an action, spend 2 Elder Thing keys. Remember that the team studied the history of the Elder Things. As an action, spend 2 Cultist keys. Remember that the team discovered a hidden power. Objective: if the team has studied the history of the Elder Things and discovered a hidden power, advance. As you've probably guessed, yes, our keys are back in this scenario. And as you'll see, as you'll see in a minute, I am also delighted with the layout of the keys. But before we move over to the map and see why, you're probably wondering where Norman and Tony's mini cards are. Well, once we move over to the map, you'll see it for yourself. So rather than hype it up, I'll just shut up and let's move over to the map. With a map this big, I can just barely fit it all in shot. Norman and Tony are starting down here at the city landscape in the very bottom right. So that's why I'm using their standees from Eldritch Horror rather than their mini cards from the card game, because I can't lay the cards along the side. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at our starting location. Flavor text will be the same on all of these. Yet now the sway of reason seemed irrefutably shaken, for the Cyclopean maze of squared, curved, and angled blocks had features which cut off all comfortable refuge. It was very, very clearly the blasphemous city of the mirage in stark, objective, and illiquidable reality. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Flips into Shroud of 5, 2 clues. As an action, move 1 clue from this location to an unrevealed location in this column or row. Had the coming of the ice been foreseen, and had a nameless population left en masse to seek a less doomed abode? H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Joy, joy. So if you remember, we had clues in the fall campaign during Return to the Circle Undone. So once a location is empty of clues, we can take control of those clues as a fast action, and then as a full action, we can give a key to any investigator at our location. Anyway, that will do it for the. That will do it for setting everything. Oh, that won't do it for setting it up yet. We still have to go through the investigators, or the expedition team members that we chose to bring with us. So Tony, as much as I wanted to swap the team out, I think we have to bring Dr. Amy Kensler back out with Tony again, Professor of Biology. Partner, uses 3 secrets. As an action, spend a secret and exhaust Dr. Kensler to investigate with a base lore of 5. If you succeed, look at the top card of any investigator's deck or the encounter deck. You may discard it. All of this is so fascinating. Do you not agree? 2 and 4 on Soak, except, as we saw, she took a horror last scenario. So we'll put that on her, along with the 3 secrets for her. None of which I think we'll need in the first round, but getting a little bit ahead of myself. Norman is going to go out with Elia Ashivak once again because he's an old man. Because Norman's an old man with an agility of 1. Also has 3 secrets. As an action, we can spend a secret and exhaust Elia to evade with a base agility of 5. If I succeed, I may move to a connecting location. Anyu's got the scent. Haven't you, girl? Then the flavor text on Dr. Kensler was, all of this is so fascinating. Do you not agree? So we'll get the secrets out on Elia, same secrets as we were using for Dr. Kensler. With that, now we're all completely set up. So, as lead investigator, we'll start off with Tony, and we'll start our first investigation phase in his play area. Tony's going to start off with a setup turn since Norman's got the clues covered. So for action 1, we'll spend 3 resources to play out the aforementioned Key of Yiz. Get some stat generation going on. Action 2, we'll take a resource, and then action 3, we'll shortcut it and spend and clean Tony out of resources to play out his 41 Derringer. So we'll get the 3 ammo for that. Three ammo going on the 41 Derringer. Anyway, that will do it for Tony. So now we can move over to Norman, and we'll move into his play area. Norman's action 1. He'll spend 4 resources to play out Milan. While I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination, I must admit that I am exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one specimen of a new genus. So we've got him out. Then a Shroud of 5 for action 2, I think is worth burning a Drawn to the Flame on. So Norman will draw the top card of the encounter deck. He will draw Rise of the Elder Things. Find the topmost Elder Thing enemy in the discard pile and spawn it engaged with you. Each Elder Thing currently engaged with you gets +1 fight and +1 evade until the end of the round. If Rise of the Elder Things puts no enemies into play, it gains Surge. First card of the deck, so obviously no Elder Things in the discard pile yet. Norman surges into Glimpse the Unspeakable. Oh joy. He's got to draw the top card of the Tekalili deck and resolve its weaknesses. Shuffle it into any investigator's deck instead of placing it on the bottom of the Tekalili deck. If no Tekalili weakness is drawn by this effect, Glimpse the Unthinkable gains Surge. So Norman's got to draw the top card of the deck. He will draw Take 1 damage. Place Tekalili on the bottom of the Tekalili deck. Still came that eldritch, mocking cry. Tekalili, Tekalili. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. So Norman's got to take a damage, and then we shuffle it in. Yep. I will actually shuffle this into Tony's deck, because he's probably better equipped to take damage than Norman is anyway. And I'm going to need to figure out new sleeves for Tony pronto. Let me try to do that today, after this scenario is over, but getting a little bit ahead of myself there, probably after this video goes up. I forgot just how many cards this campaign puts in. I forgot just how many cards this campaign puts in each investigator's deck. But anyway. Alright, so that's into Tony's deck. Norman does get the 2 clues off of the location. And then as a fast, he'll take that key. Then action 3, I don't want to split them up this early, but we do need to kind of get moving. So I think action 3 will take us over to the map. So I did kind of gloss over it a little bit, but remember, we need 2 cultist and 2 Elder Thing keys. We do have a cultist key right up here, which I'm going to start moving toward. But our other cultist keys over here on the other side of the map, and then our Elder Thing keys are both way up here, way out of the way. But anyway, Norman is going to move over to this city landscape location, and we'll see what's on the back side of here. We find Shroud of two clues. As an action, spend two -1 keys, and we already have one. Either remove one doom from the agenda, or choose and discard from play one non-elite enemy or treachery. Record in the campaign log, the team discovered an ancient result. Further on, there was a huge roofless rampart still complete in its giant 5-pointed outline. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. We'll grab the clues for that location. So we have a -1 key. Our other one is actually not too far away from us. But anyway, that will do it for Norman. That will do it for the action phase, for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, first turn of the game, so there are no enemies in play. So we'll go ahead and reset everything. A rare scenario where I don't have to remember to flip the investigator cards, mini cards over. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Yes, you can see a glaring omission that I had throughout Norman's entire turn. He should have had the top card of his deck revealed. So on top of Norman's deck was Eureka. Ooh, I might have used this. Well, I probably wouldn't have changed anything about the turn, but Will, Lore, Agility on Commit. If it's successful, the investigator performing the test searches the top 3 cards for a card, draws it, and shuffles. Alright, so now that we've got that derpiness out of the way, Norman will gain 1 resource, go to 2. Tony will gain 1 resource, and then he will draw. Possessed. Delightful. So it can be healed as if it were a single point of horror. When you reveal a frost token during a skill test, either take 1 horror or automatically fail the test. Then Norman from Forced Learning will have Eureka to choose from, or Dr. Milan Christopher. We don't need Milan we don't need another copy of Milan right now. So, on top of Norman's deck, I'll actually remember this time. Preposterous Sketches. 2 cost to play, Will and Lore on Commit. Play only if there's a clue on your location. Draw 3 cards. Mythos phase, we got our first Doom up on the agenda. Tony draws. Crumbling Ruins. Revelation test Agility 3. During this test, if you reveal a chaos token that matches a key on your location or under the control of an investigator at your location, you automatically fail. For each point you fail by, take 1 damage. Tony is based down 1, and he'll commit he's got to commit the Mauser to get to even. And we don't have any keys in his control. Elder Thing is not good. -4. If you fail, the nearest enemy moves once toward you. If it's engaged with you, it attacks. Fortunately, we have no enemy in play right now, but the -4 takes Tony down to -1, which resets to 0. So Tony fails by 3, which means he's got to take 3 damage. Ouch! Not the way I wanted to start that first round, Tony. Norman draws. Dawning of the Truth. Revelation test Will 2. Increase the difficulty of this test by 1 for each key on your location or under your control. If you fail, take 2 horror. 3 instead if you fail by 3 or more. So right now, Norman's got a key under his control, and there's 1 at his location. So he's testing. So he's testing at 4 right now. He's even. I'll commit the I'll commit the Livre des Bons to go up 3. Frost is -1 and he's got to draw again, so he's still up 2. Skull is -X, where X is the number of keys you control. So Norman actually is that's a -1, so Norman passes. Alright, that's it for the Mythos phase. Back into the investigation phase, let's go to Norman in his play area. Norman will investigate for action 1. He's up 4 right now, because that's a shroud, I believe, of 2. Yes, so he's up 4. Cultist is -2. If you fail, place a key you control on your location. Norman doesn't fail, so he gets a clue. And then he would get a resource from Milan, except for action 2, I'm going to use Norman's special ability to spend that resource to play Preposterous Sketches from the top of his deck, which will draw him 3 cards. So Norman will draw 3 cards. First up, he will find Ward of Protection level 2, so we can now protect a little bit from the Mythos deck. Fast play: when an investigator at any location draws a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation, then take a horror. Card 2. Occult Investigation, or Occult Invocation. 2 cost to play, combat, and lore on commit. As an additional cost to play it, discard up to 2 cards from your hand. Fight using lore instead of combat. You get +1 lore and deal +1 damage per card you discard as part of this effect. And Captivating Discovery. 1 cost to play, lore and agility on commit. Search the top 6 cards of your deck. You may place up to 3 of your clues on your location. For each clue you place this way, choose and add 2 of the searched cards to your hand and shuffle your deck. Then on top of Norman's deck, I won't be this much of a derp and remember this time, we find another Eureka, which we still have in Norman's hand. Then for action 3, Norman will go ahead and investigate. Once more, he's up 4. -1 gets him the last clue, and he'll actually keep the resource this time. Alright, that will do it for Norman. Tony's turn will take us over to the map. For now, Norman's going to leave the -2 key at the Roofless Rampart, because number 1, the other -2 key is all the way up here. It's probably a little bit hard to see because of the glare from the light. Let me see if I can turn this just a touch. Yeah, that seems like it's going to be really helpful. So anyway, the other -2 key is up here, and I don't know where we spend it yet. So I think this is just going to be a turn to get Tony moving. So for action 1, he'll move up to Roofless Rampart. Action 2, he'll come up to this city landscape with a -3 key here. And here we'll find Labyrinthine Chamber. Shroud of 3, 4 clues. Each time a chaos token is revealed during a skill test at this location, double its modifier if a key matching that cast token is on this location or under the control of an investigator at this location. Victory 1. So I'll get the 4 clues out for that. That was action 2. Tony is base even, so action 3, I might as well investigate. And we'll investigate it even. Cultist, as we saw earlier, is -2 if you fail place a key you control on your location. Tony doesn't have a key to place on the location, so he can't do that. But anyway, that will do it for Tony. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we still have no enemies in play, so we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony will gain one resource and go to 2. Norman will gain 1 and go to 4. Tony will draw. Another Mauser C96 level 2. Actually, we had the 0 cost level earlier. This one's a 3 cost to play with 5 ammo. As an action, we can exhaust it and spend an ammo to fight, getting +2 combat and dealing +1 damage for the attack. If we succeed by 2 or more, we either ready it or gain a resource. And if we succeed by 4 or more, we do both. Norman from Forced Learning will have Eureka and no stone unturned to choose from. We'll keep Eureka. No stone unturned, 2 cost to play, wild card on commit. Choose an investigator at your location, search the top 6 cards of their deck and draw it, and shuffle their deck. Then on top of Norman's deck we find True Understanding. Commit only to a skill test from an ability printed on a scenario card. If you're successful, discover 1 clue at your location. Mythos phase, we go up to 2 doom on the agenda. Tony draws. Crumbling Ruins. Again? We just saw this for him. Drawn. Yeah, Tony. So this is the exact same card Tony had last turn. He is down 1, and I think that's where he's going to have to test. Unfortunately, it's going to make him very vulnerable. Unless I want to commit the Mauser to get him to even. Yeah, we'll commit the Mauser to get him to even. Because there are too many -2 effects in the bag that I don't want to take a chance. Frost token is a -1. Oh, this is actually a big problem. Because the Frost token's a -1, and I gotta pull again. But because of Possessed, I have to either take a Horror or automatically fail. I will take the Horror, but I have to put it on Key of Yiz. So that actually leaves Tony still. That actually nets Tony to, so that bumps up to a 3, 4. So actually he's still even coming out of the exchange. And we draw another Frost token, so we automatically fail. Now, any kind of auto-fail, whether it's via the Tentacle or 2 Frost tokens in this case, or some other effect, it'll automatically set your skill value for the test to 0. So technically that's like we failed by 3 again, which means Tony is in a very bad way. I could kill off Dr. Kensler, but I feel like she's going to be too useful for him being able to do actually any kind of investigating in this campaign. But anyway, Norman will draw. I know I shuffled this deck. Because he has the same thing again. So increase the difficulty of this test by 1 for each key on your location or under your control. So he's testing base even again. I'll commit Eureka to go up 1. Cultist, as we saw, is -3 or -2. If you fail, put a key you control on your location. So -1 key goes on the location because we fail by 1. So Norman takes 2 horror. Delightful, kids. All right, so. And I think in an open player window coming out of that, Norman will take control of both keys. Anyway, investigation phase now. Norman is actually going to go up see if he can help Tony out with some of those clues. So Norman's turn will take us over to the map. If Tony draws Crumbling Ruins again, I think Norman's going to have a ward of protection waiting for it. But anyway, speaking of Norman, Action 1, he'll move up to the Labyrinthine Chamber. Action 2, he will investigate. And he will commit... is there anything I want to commit right now? I don't think there is, actually. So, Norman will be up 3. And we have to be aware of the... We have to be aware of the -2 and -1s, because those will both be doubled. Skull is -X, where X is the number of keys you control, so that's actually 2 right now. More importantly, Norman does pass to get a clue and a resource. And then action 3, Norman will run that back, still up 3. Elder Thing is -4. Is -4 if you fail, the nearest enemy moves once toward you. So Norman is only up 3, which means he does fail that test. So that will do it for Norman. Tony, for action 1, he'll exhaust Dr. Kensler and spend a secret to investigate with a base of 5. Norman is going to give him... Norman's going to commit Eureka to his test to put him up 3. Then does Tony have any lore he wants to commit? He does. He's going to use one of his scene of the crimes to go up 4. I only need one. I just need an enemy to come up. Is what I need. We just get tentacle touched. Delightful. Yeah, we're really off to a good start today. Norman can probably clear that of clues this turn. So I think I'll get Tony moving. Action 2 will send him over to the city, over to this city landscape, which will reveal into Shroud of 2 clues. As an action, spend 2 keys. Spend 2 0 keys. Add one of the spent 0 keys to the Chaos bag as a Chaos token for the remainder of the campaign. Record in the campaign log. The team photographed the astronomical charts. And we've got a cultist key on here, which we're going to need for the act. And action 3, Tony will investigate there up 2. Frost is a -1. And he's got to pull again. We'll take the, once again, because of Frostbitten, we'll take the Horror and put it on Key of Yiz. So, coming out of the exchange, he's at 5. That brings him down to 4. He's still up 2. Second Frost token fails the test for Tony. Delightful, Tony. We're off to a wonderful start today. Fortunately, the Possessed is only once per test. But that is the end of the investigation phase. Enemy phase? Who needs enemies? We're too busy killing ourselves, apparently. So anyway, we'll flip everything over, and then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. This is going just great, kids. Tony's gains 1 resource, goes to 3. Norman gains 1, goes to 6. Tony draws. Watch this. Commit only to a skill test you're performing. As an additional cost to commit watch this to a skill test, spend up to 3 resources. If you succeed by 1 or more, gain twice that many resources. Will, combat, agility on commit. Norman to choose from will have True Understanding and Hypochondria. Never mind. We end up with Hypochondria. Revelation, add it to your threat area. Forced, after you take 1 or more damage, take 1 direct horror, discard Hypochondria. Then on top of Norman's deck we find Shortcut, fast, play only during your turn. Choose an investigator at your location, move that investigator to a connecting location. Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 3. Tony draws. Polar Mirage. Attach to the nearest location with at least 1 clue and without a copy of Polar Mirage attached to it. Forced, after you discover or take control of 1 or more clues at attached location, discard each non-weakness card in your hand, discard Polar Mirage. And that's a cultist. That's a cultist key that Tony's on top of. Oh. This is bad. The question here is, can we get these cards out of Tony's hand before we take control of a clue there? I think we're going to lose Watch This, but I don't think there's any help for it at this point. Because we are not getting enemies. We're not getting enemies out of the deck, so Scene of the Crime isn't completely... It's not a fatal one, though, so yeah. I think we got to play it. Norman draws. Dark Aurora. Revelation, test Will 3. For each point you fail by, for each Frost token you revealed during this test, take 1 horror. If you fail, take 2. The phosphorescent organisms applied light with vast effectiveness, and doubtless atoned for the loss of the familiar polar auroras of the outer world night. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Norman right now is base up 1. And I want to save that for something that potentially could kill one of my investigators. So I'll just take the test up 1. Frost is a -1 and pull again. So right now we are even. +1. So we get out of that, but we do have to take a... So we clip past the test, but we do have to take a horror, which Norman will take himself. Anyway, that will do it for the mythos phase. Investigation phase now. Norman's turn is going to be frustratingly simple, so let's move down to his play area. First two actions, goodbye to hypochondria. Action 3 will actually take us over once I flip these over. Action 3 will take us over to the map. For Action 3, Norman will move over and join Tony at the Ancient Planetarium. So that will do it for Norman. Tony, for Action 1, he's going to... Ugh, this is so terrible. I don't really want to use Scene of the Crime, but I think I have to. Just to try to get a clue off the location and get Polar Mirage off of it. So, Scene of the Crime, discover a clue at your location. 2, instead, if there's an enemy at my location, it doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. That also loses me Watch This. But more importantly, it discards Polar Mirage. Then for Action 2, Tony will investigate. 3, 4, 5, he's up 3. Skull is a -0 because he doesn't control any keys. So he gets that clue. And hey, look at that. Now he controls a key. So we've got a cultist key. The problem is we need to get that cultist over here. So during your turn, spend 1 clue. Actually, we can get Norman over here next turn, which we might have to do. Because I forgot about the ability on the agenda. So for Action 3, I think I'll have Tony move up to this -1 key. We'll see what's here. Tony finds. Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Forced. After you reveal 1 or more frost tokens during a skill test at Ruinous Streets, take 1 damage. After you discover the last clue from Ruinous Streets, discover 1 clue on a connecting location. We need to get Norman with some way to discover clues here. Because Tony cannot keep taking damage. He's got 3 health left, so I want to try to protect his health as much as I can. But anyway, that will do it for Tony. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, somehow we still have no enemies in play. So I'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony will gain 1 resource and go to 2. Norman will gain 1 resource and go to 7. Tony will draw. Tekalili. Revelation, take 1 horror, place it on the bottom of the Tekalili deck. So the horror Tony takes has to go on Key of Yiz. Which means now Tony's +3 to all of his skills, but the next horror he takes is going to lose him his Key of Yiz. So I want to put it that way. It'll also lose him the top 10 cards of his deck. Norman has Shortcut to choose from Forced Learning, or Lab Assistant, which we have in the hand, and I'll keep Shortcut just because mobility is going to be a little bit more of a problem in this scenario. And on top of Norman's deck we find Claypool's Furs. 2 cost to play, combat, and wildcard on commit. Fast. When you reveal a frost token during a skill test you're performing, deal 1 damage to Claypool's Furs. Cancel that cast token and return it to the bag, revealing a new one. Mythos phase, Doom goes up to 4 on the agenda. Tony draws. Crypt Chill. Revelation test will 4. If you fail, choose and discard an asset you control. If you can't, take 2 damage instead. Tony right now is at 5, he's up 1. What did he draw? What did he do with his hand? Oh, he drew a Tekalili card, that's right. So Tony is going to have to jazz hands and hope he can get out of this. So he is up 1. He could put, well, that would take out Dr. Kendler. Well, actually, he could discard the 41 damage, so never mind. +1 keeps him clear of that, shockingly enough. So never mind all that talk about having to discard the Derringer. Norman draws. Elderthing Scavenger, delightful. 3s across the board. Hunter, forced. After Elderthing Scavenger attacks you, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. Draw each weakness discarded this way. Of the life of the old ones, both under the sea and after part of them migrated to land, volumes could be written. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. I know what Norman's screaming right now. Help! Help! What say we move into the investigation phase and Tony's turn starts us at the map. Also, since I'm being derpy, and like I said, it's been a while since I played Tony, we'll put a bounty on Elderthing Scavenger. Mostly for the extra action. So for action 1, Tony will move down to the Ancient Planetarium with Norman. Bounty action, he'll spend a charge of the 41 Derringer at the Elderthing Scavenger. So Tony right now is at a 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 to 3, he's up 7. And if he succeeds by at least 1, he deals +1 damage. And if he succeeds by 3 or more, he gets to take an additional action. So right now, he's up 7. Norman's saying, do what you gotta do. Wow. That was a terrible time to pull that because the Horror loses Tony the Key of Yiz. Actually, yeah, the Horror loses Tony the Key of Yiz. Discards the top 10 cards of his deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We see we're losing some pretty good stuff here. Ow. Oh, that 20 Warner bust really hurts. So I was counting that 3 in. So 5, 7, 10. Let's see, losing 3 brings him down to 7. The Frost brings him down to a 6, so he's only up 3. Tony, we've been having a really delightful day. Action 2, we'll engage it. We just dealt 1 damage to Norman. Action 3, we'll try to hit it again. So we're still up 3. Right? 5, 7. No, we're actually up 4. -1. Okay, so let me just total this up. 5, 7 to 3. He was up 4 going into the test. -1 brings him down to 6, so he passes by 3, which means he does 2 damage to the Elderthing Scavenger. Because he succeeded by 1 or more. And then because he succeeded by 3 or more, he gets to take an extra action, which will be the last charge of his 41 Derringer at the Elderthing Scavenger. He's still up 4. -1 takes it out, and Tony gets a resource from that, so he's up to 3 because we defeated an enemy with a bounty on it. That should have gone a lot smoother than that. But anyway, that will do it for Tony's turn finally. Norman, what do we want to do with Norman? Oh, right, I wanted to bring him over to the city landscape with the other cultist key on it so I can spend 3 clues to move to any location in my column or row. So I'll bring Norman over here, and then this will flip into Shroud of 2 clues. Cylindrical Tower. As an action, spend 2 -2 keys, draw 2 cards, gain 2 resources, and remove 2 frost tokens from the Chaos Bag. Record in the campaign log, the team studied the mural carvings. So our -2 keys are, one of them is in Norman's control, the other one is up here. So we'll get the 2 clues out for that. Let's see, that was a fast action. So action 1, Norman will investigate up 4. Do I have anything I want to commit? No. Up 4 is where Norman will test. Frost is -1, pull again. Skull is -2 because X is the number of keys we control. So 6, 5... Okay, so that's still a 3. So we still succeed by 1, which gets him a clue and a resource, bringing him up to 8. Action 2, he'll run the investigation back. -1 gets him the last clue on the location. Then I've got the cultist key here. Tony's got 1. He needs to get 1 more clue from somewhere, though. I'm not sure where exactly. Let's see, then action 3. Norman will... Actually, we can get the clue back. We can get that key back to Tony so we can spend them on the next turn. So we've got 3 clues. Let's do that. Let's pick this up as a fast action before we spend the 3 clues. Then we'll move back to Tony. And for action 3, I will give... Who do I want to give the cultist key to? I will give it to Tony, just so I don't completely screw Norman with the skull token. But anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase took way more to take out the enemies than it should have, but Tony took out the Elder Things Scavenger in play. So we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony will gain 1 resource and go to 4. Norman will gain 1 and go to 9. Tony will draw. Leo De Luca. 5 cost to play. Lore on commit. You may take an additional action during your turn. 2 and 2 on soak. Norman from Forced Learning will have Claypool's Furs to choose from, or Shriveling level 3. We'll take the Shriveling level 3. 3 cost to play. Will and combat on commit. Uses 4 charges. Action, spend a charge to fight using will instead of combat. You get +2 will and deal +1 damage for this attack. But if you pull a bad symbol, take 1 horror. Then on top of Norman's deck we find another copy of Shriveling. Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes to 5. Tony draws. Crypt Chill, Revelation Test Will 4. We saw this earlier and somehow we ducked it. Unfortunately, we had Key of Yiz to lean on in that test. This time we do have the 41 Derringer that we can dump. We are down 2. -1 means we can dump the 41 Derringer. I have a feeling I'm going to send Tony into his library for a new weapon this turn. Norman draws. Giant Albino Penguin. Aloof. As an additional cost for you to enter or leave this enemy's location, you must spend 1 action. It was only a penguin, albeit of a huge, unknown species larger than the greatest known king penguins, and monsters in its combined albinism and virtual eyelessness. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Fortunately, it's aloof, and I'm not sure. We're probably gonna have Norman plan on trying to work on dealing with him, but anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase, and Tony's turn, like I said, is probably going to be short, so let's drop down to his play area first. Action 1, Tony will draw a card, so Tony will draw. Hard Knocks, which I'm not happy to see right now. 2 costs to play, combat and agility on commit. Resource dump for the same stats. Action 2, he'll draw again, so he will draw. Tony's 38 Long Colt. This I'm a lot happier to see. 3 costs to play, combat, lore, wildcard on commit. After you play Tony's 38 Long Colt, play another one from your hand at no cost. Spend an ammo to fight. You get +1 combat for each bounty on the attacked enemy. This attack deals +1 damage. If this attack defeats an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it, place 1 bounty on bounty contracts. And I forgot to... We'll put a bounty on Albino Penguin. Even though I'm probably not doing anything with him this turn. Then action 3. Do I want to just play the one I've got now, or try to draw a second one? Actually, when we dumped Key of Yiz, I think did we dump his other Long Colt? We did not, but we did dump our ways to go searching for weapons. I'm just going to go ahead and play out the Long Colt, just because I just like being able to defend myself out of principle. So we'll get the 3 ammo out. Oh, wait. There's something else I need to do. I forgot about that. So we can't play the Long Colt yet, because Tony actually needs to spend the 2 cultist keys on the act. So we have discovered a hidden power. Anyway, that will do it for Tony. Norman's turn will take us over to his play area. Action 1, Norman will play out the copy of Shriveling from his hand that he just drew. We'll get the charges out for that. We are most definitely going to plan on rocking that penguin next turn. We should be at 6 resources still. Then for 2 resources, we'll go ahead and play out the Occult Lexicon. We'll go get the copies of Bloodright, which will be forcing a shuffle of the deck in a minute, but we'll put 2 of those in the deck, and this one will go into Norman's hand. So 0 cost to play, Will, Lore, Combat on Commit. Draw 2 cards, discard up to 2 cards from your hand. For each card you discard this way, you may either gain 1 resource or spend 1 resource to deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. This doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. So we'll give the deck a quick shuffle. And then we'll see what's on top of Norman's deck we find. Possessed. Delightful. So now he's got that in play as well. And on top of Norman's deck, we find the Hawkeye folding camera. Alright, so that was action 2. Action 3, we'll go ahead and play the blood right that we just drew. So we'll draw our 2 cards, Hawkeye folding camera and deduction. If the skill test is successful when investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at your location. Discard up to 2 from the hand. Hawkeye folding camera can go, as can occult invocation. So those 2 will go. We'll keep deduction. And we'll deal 2 damage to the penguin. Hopefully taking him out next turn, but anyway. That will do it for Norman. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the penguin... Oh, on top of Norman's deck we find another captivating discovery, which will probably end up being discard fodder at some point. But anyway, could have been there, but oh well. Anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the albino penguin is aloof. So we can flip everything over. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony and Norman both gain 1 resource and go to 5. Tony draws. Vicious Blow. If this test is successful during an attack, that attack deals +1 damage. Norman from Forced Learning will have Captivating Discovery to choose from, and No Stone Unturned. We'll take No Stone Unturned, I guess. Choose an investigator your location and search the top 6 cards of your deck for a card, draw it, and shuffle. Mythos phase, the agenda advances. This seems like a sure way to make everything go sideways here. Awakened Monstrosities. The walls of the city call to you in surreptitious whispers, ethereal songs indecipherable to human ears, and yet somehow familiar all the same. You try your best to shut them out, to make believe it is just your imagination, but not all of your companions are as successful. Read Scenario Interlude, Gaze into Madness in the campaign log. Delightful.
Scenario Interlude, Gaze into Madness. Find each surviving expedition member, including those currently under an investigator's control, who do not have a checkmark drawn next to their name in the expedition team section of the campaign log, and choose one of them at random. If there are no such expedition members, skip the rest of this interlude. You don't notice the effects of the whispers have on your party until it's too late. Your companion is not just studying the wall, they are leaning against it, placing their ear upon it, their eyes glazed over with rapturous stupor. When they reach the door, they either do not notice or choose to pointedly ignore the dribble of hideous miasma that seeps between its cracks, the thick, gray mist that threatens to engulf them whole. You shout a warning just as the door opens and know enough to look away at just the moment the miasma reaches out. What is it that your teammate sees, you will never truly know. You catch only a glimpse of the unspeakable, bottomless misery that dwells on the other side. Your companion stands petrified in the doorway.
Okay, there was a section of text in here which I had also recorded about if the victim's Danforth, except the victim is not Danforth, as we see. The victim is Roald Ellsworth. So, proceed.
Whether by sheer terror or compelled by some unknown force, you cannot tell. You and the others work your way toward the door, averting your gaze to ensure you do not suffer the same fate. You slide the stone door shut with a heavy crash, trapping the remainder of the churning miasma within. The moment the horror within is obscured, your companion's eyes roll back in their head and they collapse to the floor. Their heart continues to beat, but their eyes never open again. In the expedition team section of the campaign log, cross off the chosen character's name. If they were in play, they are defeated and removed from play.
Which I already did all of that, so we're all good there. And then we have our new agenda. 2A, Doom from Below. Below the darkened ice, more of the city lies trapped, encased and frozen in time. This is but the tip of the iceberg. During your turn, spend 1 clue. Look at the revealed side of a city landscape in your column or row, limit once per round. During your turn, spend 3 clues. Move to any location in your column or row, limit once per round, 10 doom to advance that. And then into our encounter cards, Tony draws. Wook, wook, wook. Find the giant albino penguin enemy farthest from you. You must either move it to your location or place 1 doom on it. If there are no giant albino penguins in play, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a giant albino penguin. Draw it and shuffle the encounter deck. Well, we do have the giant albino penguin at our location, so that will get a doom on it. Hopefully it won't have a doom for long, though, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. Norman draws. Crumbling Ruins. Tony had this test earlier, didn't he? Yes, Tony's had this test twice. Norman's going to have an even worse time of it because he's down 2. But he can take the -2 and the -1 both automatically fail him, but he's already down 2. Can he take the damage? He could get to even. Could Tony help him? Tony could help him, actually. That's an agility 3 test, and that's for each point he fails by. Yikes. So I think he's actually instead going to spend a resource. I was saving it for this treachery, but I was expecting it to come on Tony, so we'll spend Ward of Protection to cancel that treachery, and Norman will take a horror. He'll take it himself. Alright, so, moving into the investigation phase, we need to make that penguin go bye-bye. Tony, how about we do something about that in your play area, shall we? Action 1, Tony's going to spend 3 resources to play out his Long Colt. Unfortunately, I don't have another one in hand, but I need that albino penguin dead too badly to care. So we'll get 3 resources out for 3 bullets out for that. I'm going to turn that light up on that side just a touch. Whoop, not off, up. There we go. Bounty action, I'm going to engage the penguin. Action 2 will put a bullet from the Long Colt into it. Actually, we're up 3 base, so I think we'll just test. I think we'll save the ammo up 3. As many frost tokens as I have in the bag, I can't even pretend to be surprised about that. So we're up 2, and we need to pull again. Skull is -0, so the penguin's dead. Which means the doom comes off. And Tony gets another resource, so he goes up to 3. Which means now we can leave the location for free. But I think for action 3, Tony will draw a card. So Tony will draw. Tony's Quarry. 431, location farthest from Tony Morgan, aloof. Forced. After Tony's Quarry enters play, place 1 doom on it. Then place a resource on it from the token pool as a bounty. I would not be stunned if it's down here at the lower left. So resource as a bounty and a doom. Delightful. We just cannot catch a break today, apparently. But anyway, that will do it for Tony. Let's move over to Norman. Change of plans. Norman's heading over to the map. And at the start of his turn, he's going to shortcut up to the ruinous streets. Let's see. Action 1. Action 1, do I want to investigate up... I'd be investigating up 3, which is probably fine. So I'll throw a deduction into this, which is how I'm going to get up 3, trying to discover both clues. +1 gets me both clues, and because I was a derp and didn't reveal this location first, I don't get both clues. But more importantly, I need to start working on getting the Elder Thing keys. So I'll actually spend the 3 clues as a fast action to move Norman over to, I think, this city landscape. So here we'll find Temple of the Elder Things, Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Forced. After you reveal 1 or more frost tokens from during a skill test at this location, take 1 horror. Action, if there are no clues on Temple of the Elder Things, choose 2 locations with keys on them. Swap each key on those locations. Group limit once per game. So we'll get the 2 clues out for that. Then action 2, I'll move Norman up here so I can start working on this Elder Thing key, because we need that one and the one down here to advance. So anyway, this one will reveal Shroud of 3, 2 clues. As an action, test Combat or Agility 4. If you succeed, discover 1 clue from Stonebridge. Action, move to another Stonebridge location. All of these febrile structures seemed knit together by tubular bridges crossing from one to the other at various dizzying heights. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Action 3, Norman will investigate up 3. -2 gets him a clue, because he is not passing a combat or an agility test in approximately 5 million years. But anyway, that will do it for Norman. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony's Quarry moves to the city landscape right next to it, where both the rune keys are. Anyway, we can go ahead and reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony gains 1 resource, goes to 5. Norman gains 1, goes to 6. Oop, should have had a card on the top of Norman's deck. So on top of Norman's deck would have been Feed the Mind, which we wouldn't have used anyway. Tony draws. Watch this, which we probably needed desperately earlier, but anyway. Norman from Forced Learning will have Feed the Mind to choose from, or another deduction. We'll take the deduction. And then on top of Norman's deck will be another Bloodright. That could be handy to have. Mythos phase, first Doom on the agenda, but we're at 2 because of Tony's Quarry. Tony will draw. Obscuring Fog. Attached to your location, limit 1 per location. Attached location gets +2 Shroud. After attached location is successfully investigated, discarded. Except we don't care about it because there are no clues at the location. Norman draws. Glimpse the Unspeakable. Revelation, draw the top card of the Tekalili deck and resolve its effects. Shuffle it into... We saw this earlier. So the top card of the Tekalili deck is take a damage. Ugh. So whose deck do we want to shuffle this into? I think Norman will have to take this one. Which will also change the top card of the deck. But we'll go ahead and deal with that. As I look ahead to the investigation phase, Norman should be able to get the last clue off of that stone bridge, and then I can start him moving toward the other Elder Thing key. Trying to clear that Temple of the Elder Things to get a key swap wouldn't be a terrible thing, but I'm not sure. So Norman on top of Norman's deck. Feed the Mind again, which we probably wouldn't use, but anyway, looking at the map, trying to get that other Elder Thing somewhere more accessible might be a good idea, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. So into the investigation phase, let's drop to Norman's play area first. Action 1, we're going to try to pull that last clue off the stone bridge, so we're up 3. -1 gets us the last clue off the location, and another resource bringing us up to 7. Fast action will take control of the Elder Thing key, and then action 2 will take us over to the map. Action 2 will move Norman down to the Temple of the Elder Things. Action 3 will investigate up 2. -1 and pull again. Norman will take a horror from Possessed. So we're only up 1 coming into this pull. Elder Thing is not good. -4, if you fail, the nearest enemy moves once toward you. If it's engaged with you, it attacks. So Tony's Quarry actually will move up to this other city landscape. And then that will do it for Norman. Tony's turn is going to consist of him trying to move and reveal some locations. So action 1, up to the ruinous streets. Action 2, over to this city landscape with a -3 key on it, so we find Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Same thing as Norman was at earlier. We'll get the 2 clues for that. In action 3, he will actually test for combat. He's up 1. We'll spend... Watch this into this to go up 2 and put 3 resources into it. So we're up 2. I'll put Hard Knocks into it to go up 3 as well. +1 gets him a clue and 6 resources back. So he should be up to 8 resources now. I can't first. Oh, right. So 3, 6. I was wondering what I did with Tony's other resource marker in his set, but so action 1 move, action 2 to move, action 3 to make that test. Okay, so all clear on the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony's Quarry moves over to the cylindrical tower. Then we'll reset everything. And we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony gains a resource, goes to 9. Norman gains 1 and goes to 8. Tony will draw. Interrogate, which I think is probably useless in this scenario. 2 cost to play, combat, lore on commit, parley, choose a humanoid enemy at your location and test combat 3. Gets plus X difficulty where X is the chosen enemy's damage value. If you succeed, discover 1 clue at your location and 1 from any other location. Norman has Feed the Mind to choose from, and Bloodright. Bloodright, please. And then on top of Norman's deck we find Knowledge is Power. 0 cost to play, combat, or will, lore on commit. Fast, play only during your turn. Choose a tome or spell asset you control, or reveal 1 from your hand. Resolve an action or fast action ability on that asset, ignoring all costs, including its action cost, if any. Then, if that asset was in your hand, you may discard it to draw 1 card. Mythos phase, Doom up to 2 on the agenda, 3 because of Tony's Quarry. Speaking of Tony, he'll draw. Elder Things Scavenger. We saw this earlier, and it took us a lot to take it out. I'm going to put 2 bounties on it. Mostly so I can get free attack on it. Norman draws. Guardian Elder Thing. Oh, fun. 3/4/1. Hunter. Forced when you deal damage to Guardian Elder Thing. For each point of damage dealt, discard the top card of your deck. Draw each weakness discarded this way. 1 and 1 on attack. So, I'm going to try to... Well, it looks like we got enemies to deal with now. So, let's drop down to Tony's play area first in the investigation phase. Bounty action, we'll take a shot with the 38 Long Colt at the Elder Things Scavenger. And I'll commit Vicious Blow to try to take it out. So we are at 5, 6, 7, 8 to 3. We're up 5. We get +1 combat per bounty, and I put 2 on the Elder Things Scavenger. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, we're up 5. We're up 5, and we take him out in 1 shot if we can. Frost is a -1 pull again, so we're up 4, and we have to pull again. Skull is -0, where X is the number of keys. Is -X, where X is the number of keys he controls at 0. So Tony gets 2 resources back from bounty contracts because he defeated the Elder Things Scavenger with an attack from the 38 Long Colt. He gets a bounty back on contracts as well. So Tony goes up to... Actually, I'm going to use one of these as an envelope of money. So Tony is at 11 resources. That was bounty action. So actual action 1. I don't know why I'm doing that, because I'm just going to spend down to 6 resources. To play out Leo and wonder where the hell this bastard has been the whole scenario. So that'll give us an extra action, and then we'll move over. Then action 2 will take us over to the map. Action 2, Tony will move over to this city landscape with a 0 key on it. So here we'll find Labyrinthine Chamber, which we saw over here, and we left clues on there, so we're probably going to end up leaving clues there again. Action 3, I'll move over to Norman, And then action 4, do I want to risk putting a shot into the Guardian Elder thing? I think I kind of have to. I forgot to put any bounties on it. I'll pretend no, I'm not going to do that. I will take a shot at it, though, so I didn't put any bounties on it because I'm a derp and forgot. So 5 to 3. Tony will commit Interrogate to go up 3. Norman will commit No Stone Unturned to put him up 4 because I don't want to miss this. So I'm doing 2 damage already. This could be a problem. But I'm willing to gamble here a little bit. Skull is a -0 once again, so the Guardian Elder thing does take 2 damage, but Tony has to discard the top 2 cards of his deck. But he draws any weaknesses he discards, so let's see what we discard. Oh, that hurts. I needed the 20-1 bust, and I wouldn't have minded a daring, so anyway, that's it for Tony. Norman's action 1, he's going to play Bloodright. So we'll draw 2 cards and then discard 2. Discard up to 2. So Knowledge's Power is first, and Tooth of Esli. So I will discard, I'm discarding Knowledge's Power, and we'll discard Captivating Discovery. Then we'll spend 2 resources to take out the Guardian Elder thing. So that's defeated, but Norman's got to discard the top 2 cards of his deck. Drawing each weakness discarded this way, so Norman finds a couple of cards I don't mind getting rid of. So now on top of Norman's deck we find another Knowledge's Power, which I discarded to Bloodright. Let's see, that was action 1. Action 2... do I send the... Where do I want Norman to go? I need to get this key if I can. So I think for action 2, I'll move Norman over to the city landscape with a 0 key, and here we'll find another Temple of the Elder Things. Okay. So we'll get another 2 clues for that. Then action 3 will investigate there, so we are up 2. Is there anything I want to commit to this? Yes, I will commit Deduction, because I could stand a key swap here. -1 will get me both clues, so that's actually very beautiful. That will do it for Norman, that'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony's Quarry moves in, but it doesn't make friends with Norman because A, it's aloof, and B, it's already with an enemy, so it's already with Norman, so it's just aloof. I thought it'd pray for Tony for some reason, but apparently not. So anyway, we'll go ahead and reset everything here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony and Norman will gain 1 resource and each go to 7. Tony will draw Tony's other 38 Longcold. The other 38 Longcold, which will probably be going straight into play, assuming I have an opportunity to put it into play. Norman draws. Norman has forced learning or Knowledge's Power to choose from, or Shortcut. We'll take the shortcut on this one. Who's that? Okay, that was committed to get both clues. Okay. Just making sure I had that straight. Anyway, Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 3, 4 because of Tony's quarry. Tony draws. Oh boy. Nightmarish Vapors. He must either lose 2 actions or shuffle the top 2 cards of the Tekalili deck into your deck without looking at them. Tony will lose 2 actions. Now that he's got Leo, that's not nearly as punishing. Norman draws. Dark Aurora. Test Will 3. For each Frost token you reveal during this test, take 1 horror. If you fail, take 2. This is bad. Because here's the problem. If Norman pulls 2 Frost tokens, he fails and takes 4 horror. 2 of it can go on Milan, but he'll have to take the other 2 and be defeated by Sanity. I'm up 1. I'll commit the Tooth to go up 2. Actually, this gets even worse if he pulls a Frost token. He's got Possessed out as well. I forgot about that. That was rhetorical, God, not hold my beer. Anyway, our peril just got even worse. So, our first Frost token brings us not only down to -1 and pull again. Before we talk about that, Norman either... Actually, this might be a situation where Norman just automatically fails the test from Possessed. So, he'll have to have Milan eat the 2 horror from the Dark Aurora, and he'll take the horror from revealing a Frost token. So we are actually in a very bad way now. Right. So this is not going well at all. Well... I think the next investigation phase will take us... top of Norman's deck. We will find... True Understanding. Delightful. Alright, so Tony's turn will find us down at his play area for a pretty short turn. Tony only has 2 actions this turn, so action 1 will play out his other 38 Long Colt. Got the 3 ammo for that, but I don't think this is going to matter all that much in the grand scheme of things. Then action 2, he'll draw a card, so Tony will draw. Daring. 3 wild card on commit. Only do a skill test during an attack or evasion against an enemy. Enemy gains Retaliate and Alert for the duration of this test. After this test ends, draw a card. That will do it for Tony. Let's move over to Norman into his play area. Action 1, Norman will use the action on his current Temple of the Elder Things to swap the 0, choose 2 locations of keys. To swap the 0 and the Elder Thing from the other Elder Thing key. Then as a fast action, he'll take control of the Elder Thing key because his location has no clues on it right now. Action 2, Norman will spend 2 clues to remember that the investigators have studied the history of the Elder Things, which will let us advance. Aeon's long history. What you have found is almost too wild to believe. According to the murals and records within the city, the Elder Things were travelers from the stars. They colonized Earth long before the time of humanity, settling far and wide. And deep in the Undercity, beneath the tallest mountain, they found a dormant primordial power, something so terrifying they built a gateway to seal it within. But eventually, it began to escape, and their civilization collapsed. There must be even more preposterous secrets buried deep below. You have to learn the truth of this ancient power, and in order to do so, you must find the secret passageway that will lead you deeper into the heart of the mountains. Shuffle the set-aside creatures in the ice encounter set and the discard pile into the deck. You know the route into the Undercity. Reveal the hidden tunnel. Add 1 frost token to the chaos bag. That's the only part of this I'm not happy with, because those frost tokens have been causing us all kinds of problems this entire scenario. Frost token in the bag. We'll reveal the hidden tunnel. The passageway into the Undercity is hidden. You can't enter the hidden tunnel. Our study of the decadent sculptures brought about a change in our immediate objective. This, of course, had to do with the chiseled avenues to the black inner world, of whose existence we had not known before. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Here we find clues on Hidden Temple cannot be no shroud, 4 clues. Clues on Hidden Temple cannot be discovered or moved to other locations. Test a skill as an action. Test a skill of your choice 4. You may spend a skull key to get +5 skill value for this test. If you succeed, return 1 clue on Hidden Tunnel to the token pool. 2 if you spent a skull key. Victory 1. Right, so that's up at the top of the... So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, then we got to take a look at our new act. Pursuit of the Unknown, version 2. Somewhere in this sprawling web of icy streets and cyclopean structures lies an ancient gateway leading to the Undercity beneath the Great Mountain. You'll have to find it if you wish to learn more. As an action, spend 2 rune keys. Each investigator searches their deck for each Tekalili weakness, shuffles each of them into the Tekalili deck, then shuffles their deck. Objective: if each undefeated investigator is at Hidden Tunnel and it has no clues on it, advance. That might be tempting to go get those 2 rune keys, but Norman's too busted up right now. So, for action 3, Do I want to try to get those skull keys? Because Tony's at a location with 1 right now, but the other one is unrevealed as of yet. And again, like I said, we are all kinds of busted up we're all busted up right now. So, do we just head for the end of the scenario, or do we want to... I think we're fine. We can probably have Tony try to deal with his quarry. So yeah, I think we will go ahead and shortcut Norman over to the map. New plan, we're going to try to cheese it a little bit. So, Norman's actually going to move over to this Temple of the Elder Things. And then action 3, he will investigate up. A shortcut is gone, so we're up 2. But we're in a very bad situation, so we need to duck frost tokens. I swear, I talk about what I need to duck, and then I immediately draw it. So, the problem here is because of Possessed, Norman either has to take a horror or automatically fail the test. To keep himself alive, he's just going to automatically fail the test, which I'm not happy about at all. But anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony's quarry moves into our location, which I'll probably have to have Tony deal with, but anyway, we can go ahead and reset everything here, and then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony gains 1 resource, goes to 5. Norman gains 1 resource and goes to 8. Tony draws. As if I needed more problems. Day of Reckoning. Revelation. Attach Day of Reckoning to the current agenda. Then search the Chaos Bag for the Elder Sign and seal it on Day of Reckoning. This is also the last agenda in the game. Delightful. I'm just going to search for the Elder Sign off camera. Mostly while I'm cussing and swearing, wondering where everything went wrong in this scenario. Frost. Ah, here we go. So I dropped the Elder Sign everywhere. By the way, Day of Reckoning was the weakness that Tony added to his deck from the Tower 16. Delightful time for it to come up too, Tony. Norman has True Understanding to choose from, or I've got a plan. I think I'd rather have True Understanding right now because I need the clues. And then on top of Norman's deck we find the Harbinger. Wonderful. Revelation, place this card on top of your deck. While the Harbinger is revealed and on top of your deck, your cards in your deck can't be searched, drawn, or manipulated in any way except by the below ability. 2 actions to discard it. This ability may be activated while the Harbinger is on top of your deck as if it was in your threat area. Delightful. Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 4, we're at 5 in play because of Tony's Quarry. Tony draws. Giant Albino Penguin. We'll put a bounty on that as well. Norman will draw. Dawning of Truth. Test Will 2. Increase the difficulty of this test by 1 for each key on your location or under your control. So this is actually 5. If you fail, take 2 horror. 3 horror instead if you fail by 3 or more. This is really bad. So a Frost token basically gets Norman taken out and Elia with him. So I've got to commit True Understanding to get to even. And even's the best I can do. So Norman. No whammy, no whammy, no whammy. A 0. Which means we duck Dawning of Truth, and we get a clue off of this Temple of the Elder Things. So we kind of dodged a bullet there, but anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase now, and Tony looks like he's got some blasting to do. Bounty action will make friends with the Albino Penguin because it's going to cause us more problems right now in terms of the ability to leave the location. Action 1 will spend the last shot from this 38 Long Colt into the Penguin. So we're at 6-2. We're up 4, trying to do 2 damage. Do we have anything we can commit? We'll commit Daring. Mostly because it's a redraw. So right now we're up. So now we're up 6, 9. We're up 7. So of course we get Tentacle touched, and because he had Retaliate. We take 1 and 1, which I'll put on Leo, and then we'll draw a card, so Tony will draw. Tekalili to lose 2 resources. The only consolation is, at least that's 1 Tekalili weakness out of Tony's deck. Just leave that in clear, put it on the bottom of the deck. Action 2. Let's try that again, shall we, Tony? We're still up, let's see, 6-2, we're still up 4. -2 does 2 damage. Action 3 will take another shot. So we're still up, we're up 4 once again. Rune is -3. If a frost token was revealed during this test, you automatically fail instead. Except it wasn't, so Tony gets the bounty back. He gets a resource out of that. And the albino penguin is defeated after much consternation. Then action 4, Tony will draw a card. So Tony will draw Opportunist, level 0, wildcard on commit. Only to a skill test you're performing. If you succeed by 3 or more, return it to your hand after the test instead of discarding it. That will do it for Tony. Norman's turn is going to be very simple as we start off at his play area. 2 actions. Harbinger can go GFI on top of Norman's deck. Another I've got a plan. Action 3 will investigate up 1. Is there anything I can commit? No. +1 gets Norman gets the clue. I'm relying a little bit on cheesy effects, but actually this is a decision. Do I want to take the skull key or wait and try to swap the rune? We're going through Tekalili weaknesses fairly quickly at this point, so I think we'll just go ahead and let's test a skill of your choice. I think we will take the skull for Norman. So anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony's quarry is still aloof. So I'll go ahead and reset everything here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony gains 1 resource, goes to 5. Norman gains 1 and goes to 9. Tony draws. Tekalili, take 1 damage. Also goes at the bottom of the deck, so that's not too bad right now. At least we can get another Tekalili weakness out of his deck. And then Norman has, I've got a plan or Tekalili, delightful. Take a damage and place it on the bottom of the Tekalili deck. Like I said, that's really the only consolation here, is we're going through these Tekalili weaknesses fairly quickly. So on top of Norman's deck we find another Bloodright, which we might need. But anyway, Mythos phase, 5 doom on the agenda, 6 thanks to Tony's quarry. Tony draws. Polar Mirage, to the nearest location with at least 1 clue and without a copy of Polar Mirage. So that'll go on the labyrinthine chamber next to us. Norman draws. Dark Aurora. So we're up 1, and that is where Norman has to test. Cultist is -2 if you fail, place a key you control on your location. So Norman's got to take 2 horror. He'll put that on Elia, even though I'm not real happy about that. And he's got to put a key he controls on his location. So we'll put the -1 there, even though we can pull it right back as a fast action. So, I'm not sure I care about the -1 keys. Where did the -1 keys go? All the way back here at the Roofless Rampart, right by where we started. Anyway, that will do it for... That'll do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase... Oh, okay, never mind. Investigation phase, and I want to see if I can find that other skull key, so... Let's move it up to Tony first and head over to the map. Action 1 for Tony, he's going to move up to the stone bridge. Action 2, he'll move over to the city landscape with a -2 key attached to it. So this one finds another stone bridge, which we've seen earlier. Action 3 will move Tony over here with the other skull key. So over here we find Ruinous Streets. Oh joy. Forced after you reveal 1 or more frost tokens during a skill test here, take 1 damage. Action 4, Tony will move back to this stone bridge. We'll work on getting clues maybe off of there. Norman, what's he going to do? That should have 2 clues on it as well. I think for action 1, Norman's going to use this Temple of the Elder Things to swap clues again. I'm ruling that it's a different instance of the location. So we used it here, but we can use it here again. So I'm going to swap the -1 with the skull, and then as a fast action, I'll take the skull key. Then we'll move 2, 3. That'll do it for Norman, that'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony's quarry moves up to this stone bridge. And then that will do it, and then we'll reset everything here. And we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony gains 1 resource and goes to 6. Norman gains 1 resource, goes to 10, so we'll get the money bag of resources again. Here it is. Tony will draw another copy of Leo, which I'm not particularly happy to see. Norman has Bloodright or Frostbitten to choose from, so we have to take Frostbitten. It's the same thing as Possessed except for the damage version, so Frost tokens are really bad for Norman. As if they couldn't already have been bad enough. On top of Norman's deck we find Curiosity. Not particularly useful right now. Mythos phase, 6 Doom on the agenda, 7 in play because of Tony's quarry. Tony draws Reawakened Elder Thing. Oh joy. 2/3/1 Hunter. Forced. When this enemy engages you, place a key you control on it. When it leaves play, place that key on its location. Forced. When an investigator at this enemy's location takes control of a key, this enemy readies, engages, and attacks them. 1 and 1 on soak. Norman draws Blasphemous Visions. Shuffle the top card of the Tekalili deck into your deck without looking at it. Then put Blasphemous Visions into your threat area. Resolve the effects of each Tekalili weakness you draw an additional time. Action, Test Will 3. If you succeed, discard it. The problem here is I can't even afford... Problem is I really can't afford to get rid of it, so I'm basically just going to draw it I'm basically just going to draw it and probably get hosed by it. So, anyway. Okay, so that's everything for the deck. Hopefully I shuffled that Tekalili weakness nice and deep. But let's find out. So we draw. Preposterous Sketches, which we have access to since we are on the location. But anyway, that will do it for... we'll put a bounty on the... We'll put a bounty on the Reawakened Elder thing. Anyway, investigation phase now, and... we've got some options here. So, I think we'll have Norman go into his play area. I'm kind of going to play this turn expecting Norman to bite the dust here soon. So the plan here, let me just double check. Action may give any number of keys. Okay. So here's the plan. As an action, action 1, Norman's going to give Tony all 3 of these keys. So he's got the... Wait. When an investigator at this enemy's location takes control of a key... hold on. Control of a key. So they give any number of keys. So it's already under their control. So I'm ruling that the Reawakened Elder thing doesn't attack. Action 2. Norman's going to spend a charge of Shriveling into the Reawakened Elder thing. Well, actually, this is a really... That's a really bad idea, because if this draw... we're going to be at 6-2. We're going to be up 4. So if we pull a symbol and miss, we're just going to end the scenario right here. Question is, do I have time to engage it, or do I not even have time to care? Well, another option could be to pull it over to Norman and then evade, but it doesn't... Actually leaves me in an even worse situation. So I think what I have to do here is I can't risk Tony getting up there. So I think action 2, Norman's going to engage it. Then action 3, he'll pump a charge of Shriveling into it. So he's at 6-2. He's up 4. That won't help. And Tony can't commit either. So Norman's up 4, trying to do 2 damage. +1 does 2 damage to the Reawakened Elder thing. So yeah. Like I said, I was expecting Norman to bite it this turn, but thankfully he didn't. So anyway, that will do it for Norman. Now let's move back over to Tony's play area. That actually helps Tony out because that gives us access to his bounty action, which he'll use to re-engage the Reawakened Elder thing, because I don't want to hit Norman with this attack. Then for action 1, do I want to just try to punch it or take a shot at it? I think I'll just try to punch it, because I only need 1 damage. So we'll use Opportunist to go up 4. I don't care about getting the bounty back, because Tony's going to probably start heading to the finish line. You do not want to focus today, do you? -2 takes out the reawakened Elder Thing, but it does lose us Opportunist. Neither outcome of which I'm concerned about. So Tony will gain a resource. That goes away. Those go back here. That goes here. Then action 2 will take us over to the map. Tony will move up to the hidden tunnel for action 2. Action 3, he'll use the action on the hidden tunnel. He'll test a skill of his choice 4 using combat. Then we'll spend a skull key to get +5 skill value for this test. That's going to put him at 9. Actually, that's going to put him at 10 to 4. He's up 6. Elder Thing, I'm pretty sure doesn't fail him. -4, if you fail, the nearest enemy moves once toward you. If it's engaged with you, it attacks. So Tony was up 6 after spending the skull key, so he gets to return 2 of these clues back. Then action 4, he'll run that back. So we're up, so once again we're up 6 using combat. We say that that's a 0, and somehow we have managed to empty that location of its clues. So anyway, that will do it for Tony. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony's quarry moves over to the stone bridge with Norman. Then we'll reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony gains 1 resource and goes to 8. Norman gains 1 and goes to 11. Tony draws. Lucky Cigarette Case. 2 cost to play, will on commit. Reaction: after you succeeded a skill test by 2 or more, exhaust Lucky Cigarette Case to draw a card. Norman has Preposterous Sketches and Anatomical Diagrams to choose from. We will take Preposterous Sketches. And then on top of Norman's deck we find another Tooth of Esli. 3 cost to play, will on commit. You get +1 will and +1 agility while resolving an ability on a treachery card. Reaction: after you succeeded a skill test while resolving an ability on a treachery, exhaust Tooth of Esli to draw 1 card. Mythos phase, Doom is up to 7 on the agenda, 8 because of the Tony's quarry. And here I'm hoping for no whammies, so Tony draws. Guardian Elder Thing, which actually isn't even that big of a whammy right now. 3/4/1 Hunter. Forced, when you deal damage to Guardian Elder Thing, for each point of damage dealt, discard the top card of your deck. Draw each weakness discarded this way, 1 and 1 on attack. Norman's the one who's trying to duck the whammy, but I'm not completely sure I mind him biting it here. Norman draws. Rise of the Elder Things. Find the topmost Elder Thing enemy in the discard pile and spawn it engaged with you. Each Elder Thing currently engaged with you gets +1 fight and +1 evade until the end of the round. If the Rise of the Elder Thing puts no enemies in play, it gains Surge. So we put the Reawakened Elder Thing into play, which might not be a big whammy if I think I can get away from it though. So let's move down. Alright, so investigation phase. Yeah. If Norman can get away from that, the scenario's over. So we'll move down to Norman and we'll move into his play area. Action 1 is where I need Elia desperately to come up clutch. So we're going to spend 1 of his secrets to evade with a base value of 5. Norman is up 4. Does he have any agility whatsoever he can put into this? He does not, of course. So up 4. +1 gets Norman away from the reawakened Elder Thing. And then Action 2 will take us over to the map. Action 2, Norman will get up to Tony, both of whom will immediately collapse in exhaustion, but, more importantly, if each undefeated investigator is at the hidden tunnel and it has no clues on it, advance. To the Undercity, the path, now clear, leads into a labyrinth of dark, treacherous tunnels. For good or ill, your rigorous journey is coming to an end. Taking a deep breath, you gather your courage and delve into the depths of the mountain. R1. With that, let's move back up top for R1. By now, I think you guys know the drill as we move back up top. Any background noise you hear is me cleaning up. So with that, take it away.
If no resolution was reached, Resolution 1.
There we go.
A quiet, unearthly stillness welcomes you as your party delves into the secret passageway. You expected to be greeted by sound and fury, but this eerie silence is almost worse. Not a word is spoken as you slink deeper and deeper into the secret shaft, making note of the peculiar smoothness of the walls, the bizarre markings along the floor, the muted drip, drip, drip of water in the distance. For hours you continue into the deep dark, questioning your judgment with each step. What kind of people walk willingly into the jaws of such horror? You risk your reputation going on this expedition to begin with. Then you risk your life not turning back the moment things turned dire. Now you risk your very sanity unearthing secrets no human was ever meant to find. Is this bravery, or the final mistake of a herd of fools, too stubborn to see that their own deaths lie at the end of this road? It matters not. You've come too far to turn back now. One way or another, you will get the answers you seek. The only question is whether you'll live to tell the world what you found. In your campaign log, record, the team found the hidden tunnel. Each investigator earns experience equal to the Victory X value of each card in the Victory display. Each investigator also earns 1 additional experience for each pair of cast tokens spent during this scenario. In the Expedition Team section of the campaign log, record the amount of damage and horror on each partner asset in play. Proceed to Interlude 3, Final Night.
Okay, so there was a lot to unpack in that resolution. So the team found the hidden tunnel. Sorry, I'm making notes off camera. Each investigator earns experience equal to Victory X plus 1 per pair of tokens spent. So 1 on the hidden tunnel. Those 2 didn't get empty to clues. So 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 2 for the tarot card. So we have 6 more experience to spend. I noted the only health change was Elia, who took 2 additional horror during the scenario. So now we're in Interlude 3, Final Night. And here, I am going to start cleaning up more in earnest. Once I can find the... here we go. Okay, hold on.
Final Night 2.
No.
Final Night 3.
No.
Final Night 4.
No. God, my...
Interlude 3.
Here we go.
Final Night. Final Night 1. You would hesitate to call the darkened pit you find yourself in safe by any means, but you feel as though this is as good a place as any to rest. It was hard enough to tell the time with the sun always lingering in the Antarctic sky. Now, deep underground with no sunlight to speak of, it is impossible. When one of your companions checks their pocket watch and informs the team that 14 hours have passed since you went underground, the response is one of utter disbelief. You do not remember traveling that long, but your body is weary enough to prove it. In gloomy silence, you and the others set up camp once more. Your numbers have dwindled to only yourself and the few experts who remain from those originally introduced to you by Dr. Kensler. The rest of the students and researchers are either back at the barrier camp where you first disembarked from Theodosia, or no longer with you. The cavern is easily large enough for what few of you remain, and the icy floor brittle enough to stake down your tents. Even so, it does not truly feel safe. You wonder if you will ever feel safe again. You only have enough time to check on a few team members, regardless of whether they are alive or crossed out. One at a time, choose and read 3 of the sections below, 4 instead if the team was guided to the hidden tunnel. If the game effect of the chosen section cannot be performed, it does not count toward this total and you may choose a new section instead. Once you have read the appropriate number of sections, proceed to Final Night 2.
Alright, so we have three team members we get to check on because we found the hidden tunnel ourselves. I feel like one of them should be Dr. Kensler, so let's go track her down.
If Dr. Amy Kensler is alive, and Dr. Kensler is on the verge of understanding is recorded in your campaign log,
Which it is.
Dr. Kensler is in an absolute panic when you enter her tent. Her gazes rise to meet yours for just a moment before she goes back to rummaging through her materials. It is here somewhere. I know it. She mumbles. You've never seen Dr. Kensler in such disarray before. Here. The book she identifies is not one of her treatises on biology or a textbook filled with anatomical diagrams. It is an old, moldy tome, unrelated to any of the sciences, written in French. I know I saw it in here. She mumbles, scouring the tome's pages for a specific passage. You sit nearby in silence, almost too frightened to ask anything. Dr. Kensler has changed completely from her usual, cold, stoic demeanor. Here, she marks her page and snaps back to you. Can I trust you? You nod your head. Whatever Dr. Kensler has found, you get the feeling she's only showing you because you have shared in her discoveries up until this point. She opens the tome to a depiction of some unfamiliar cosmic hierarchy, the kind of absurd dogmatic theory that any self-respecting scientist would scoff at. Henry Armitage was the only other person at the university who did not approve of this undertaking. He is the one who showed me this, after Dyer submitted his report. She points to the section of the diagram illustrating the Earth, and you note the pattern of intersecting lines at its edge. The South Pole, she says, at the edge of the Earth, where the lines meet. The culmination of eldritch forces, he said. Superstitious nonsense, I presumed. But my research proves otherwise. These creatures, these phantom mirages, eidolons of broken minds, they did not arrive here. They were always here, from the very beginning. Do you understand? She grips her miasma sample tight, and we weren't the first to stumble across them. Dr. Kensler's research allows you to view the situation with greater clarity. In your campaign log, record, Dr. Kensler understands the true nature of the miasma.
I wonder what she's going to do with that experience, or that knowledge, but we have 2 more team members that we want to check on. Let's go follow up with... Well, we just lost Rold, so let's go follow up with him.
If Rold Ellsworth is crossed out and an investigator did not already earn his Memorial of the Lost card from Interlude 1, if you didn't know any better, you'd assume Ellsworth had been preparing for the apocalypse. Despite his reputation as a light-footed explorer and expert backpacker, a cursory glance at the belongings he left behind provides a wealth of provisions, supplies, and cold weather gear. As the team mournfully divides his things so as to put them to good use, you spot an extra pair of water-resistant boots he must have brought along as backup. You don't know if any of you could truly follow in his footsteps, but at least with these, you might be able to walk in his shoes. Any one investigator may add the Ellsworth Boots story asset to their deck. This card can be found in the Memorials of the Lost Encounter set. It does not count toward that investigator's deck size.
Let's take a look at Ellsworth's boots. 2 cost to play, agility, on commit. Limit 1 footwear per investigator. Reaction, after the last clue is discovered from your location, exhaust Ellsworth's boots. Move to a connecting location or discard them to move to any revealed location. I think we'll give that to Norman, because I feel like as our Clover, I need Norman to be the mobile one of the team, plus with an agility of 1, a potential 2 agility commit would be very welcome for Norman. And then as for one more team member, who else do we want to check on? Let's go pay Cookie a visit. Actually, let's check in on Elia, because we got him busted up pretty badly.
Elia Asherbach is alive. It isn't difficult to find Elia. Anyu's insistent barking makes his location all too obvious. "Stop it, girl," he orders, struggling to keep her calm. The dog stands at the edge of the camp, barking at the darkness beyond as though there is something lurking at the edge of your sight. Perhaps there is, something only she can see. "Seriously, Anyu, stop. You're making too much noise," Elias shouts. When he sees you approach, he motions for you to help pull her away. "Can you grab her collar? We need to get her back to the tents." After some struggling, you finally manage to wrench the dog away and lead her back to camp. She whines the entire way, her snout twitching. "She's got the scent of something," Elias says once she is calm. "Never seen her act this way before. Whatever is up ahead, it cannot possibly be good. Or normal." He runs his hand through his hair and shrugs. But what else is new in this damned place? Bonding with Elia and Anyu makes things just a little better. Any one investigator may either heal one mental trauma or erase one horror from a partner asset recorded in the campaign log.
Well, that's highly timely, and seeing as Elia just took 2 horror in this scenario, let's say we heal 1 from him. So we're down to 1. Let's see, we followed up with Ellsworth, Kensler, and Elia. Alright, so we're back to Final Night 2.
Interlude 3.
Nope.
Final Night 2.
Here we go.
You try in vain to sleep, but the night seems to go on forever. Your thoughts meander endlessly in a maze of worry and doubt. If you have already played Scenario Fatal Mirage this campaign, proceed to Final Night 3. Otherwise, skip to Final Night 4.
Right, we have not played Fatal Mirage yet in this campaign, so let's go... So we gotta go to Final Night 3.
Final Night 4.
Oh, Final Night 3, I said.
Final Night 3. Just as you are finally beginning to drift off, the door appears again. It shimmers momentarily, gray mist billowing out from the cracks of the door frame. Again, you are being offered a choice. But do you dare risk venturing into the frigid illusion once more? The investigators must decide. Choose one. Open the door and venture once more into the mirage. Add 1 frost token to the chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign. Proceed to Scenario Fatal Mirage. Ignore the door and allow it to vanish. Proceed to Scenario 4, The Heart of Madness. You will not get another chance to return to Fatal Mirage for the remainder of the campaign.
As close as we came to having Norman bite it in this scenario, Tony was actually in peril as well. So as close as we came to biting it in this scenario, I don't think venturing into that door and adding another frost token right off the bat is a very good idea. So I think we're just going to move right toward the end of the campaign. So that will do it for this playthrough of City of the Elder Things. We did pick up 6 experience. Elia picked up 2 horror, but we healed 1 from the interlude. So anyway, another full week as usual, but hopefully 1 less video this week. Wednesday we'll head back to Gravehold to help defend it from the Nameless as we play Aeon's End. Thursday we'll upgrade the decks for this campaign. Then Sunday we'll continue the winter campaign with the Heart of Madness. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.